Thank you everyone for coming. I'm Cadence. I use she, her pronouns. I go to Harding High School and I'm in 11th grade.
Hello everyone, my name is Bennett. I'm a senior at Johnson High School and I use he, they pronouns.
Okay, so before we get started in our events, we just want to have some special thanks to Urban Roots Advisory Council for helping plan this event, also Youth on Boards, Sprockets, Minnesota Youth Collective, and Springboard for hosting here. And also, if you got a packet, and it has like a bingo sheet on it to keep you busy, and also like a post-it note to write any questions you have. Once you like write it down in your post-it note, you can give it to anyone that has like a little flower on their shirt, and that would be or Jocelyn or Natalie, and we'll answer those questions like at the end. But it can be like anything as lighthearted as like what's your zodiac sign, or like anything like that, or like anything like school board related, anything like that. And I'm gonna pass it on to Bennett.
So the school board is like designed to be a community, a bridge between the community and the school district. So this year there are 4 open seats on the board, and tonight we have the opportunity to hear from the candidates directly. Now let's have them briefly introduce themselves.
I'm gonna start with Gita and then pass it to or, I mean, just a brief introduction.
My name is Geeta Rizal Zeitler. I'm originally from Nepal. I arrived here 26 years ago as an international student. I am a mom of 2 teenagers who goes to public school, and my kids also went to charter school before their middle school, and I live in the Union Park district, and in day job, I'm a healthcare worker. I did a lot of work with the children, youth, disabled, mental health people with healthcare needs, mental health or disability, that kind of thing. Also, my husband has a small business. I help that too. Why? Maybe I have a chance other time why I'm running for. I'm really worried about public schools enrollment going down. I have some family history how public school was successful and turned to haunted house, and I'm so much worried about that, and that's the main reason I'm running. I want public school enrollment go up so it doesn't close permanently.
My name is Zuki Ellis. I am a graduate of St. Paul Public Schools. I graduated from Highland. I'm a parent and I have a 10th grader in the district. I am running for my 3rd term. I've already done 2 on the school board, so that's 8 years on the board. I've been the chair, I've been the vice chair, I've been the clerk on the board. I have served on numerous committees within our community to support education, a lot of times being the only person of color in those spaces, advocating for our young people and for our people who work in St. Paul Public Schools. I grew up in Rondo. Maybe started some trouble in the neighborhood, not a lot, just a little bit. And I am running because this is my community. This community raised me. I am proud of the education that I got in this district in St. Paul Public Schools. I want the same for my own child and more. I want that for all of our young people in St. Paul Public Schools, and so I'm here running again.
Hello, my name is Carlo Franco, he, him, his pronouns. I am from the west side of St. Paul. I am also a graduate of Humboldt High School, class of 2013. I'm 28 years old, and I am a youth worker. I have been a youth worker. I see many familiar faces in here, young folks that work with Right Track, young people that are on youth on boards. I will tell you that this is also the first candidate forum that I've got to participate in, where young people, like a lot of young people were in the audience, so I appreciate that you all are showing up and here and helping organize an event to make sure that young people's voices get to be heard, because I'm running, so that way we can make sure our young people have what they need in our schools. And as a youth worker, I want to bring young people's voices into the forefront. I want to bring family voices into the forefront of how we lead and organize our district. And so I am thankful for all the organizations that got to participate in organizing this event, for you all to continue showing up in a future continued partnership with you all. But I think there's a lot that we will talk about related to school safety, related to academic outcomes, and so many more things, but and out of school time programming, of course. So I will pass the mic, but thank you all for participating today.
My name is Chantel Allen. I was born and raised in this community, in the Rondo community. I'm a fourth generation Rondo kid, proud graduate of St. Paul Central High School. Both of my kids went to St. Paul Public Schools and graduated from St. Paul Central. The reason why I'm on the board is because I feel like a lot of the youth voice isn't being heard, and I feel like the public school is not serving all of our students. I did about 20 years working in special ed, and I found that there was a lot of students who had a lot of great potential, but it wasn't being tapped. And I wanted to redesign the system so that all of our students could come out successful, because just like Zuki, this is my community. I love this community, I love this city. And when we don't serve our students right, we feel it in the long run. And so I really want to invest in making sure that all of our students become successful and build the best city we got, the best city we had.
Hi, my name is Yusuf Carrillo, and I use he, him, his pronouns. I am you could say an immigrant. I grew up in Spain, Mexican father, American mother, moved here when I was 18 to California, and made it work somehow. And we moved here in 2017 after a 10-year stint in Oakland, California, where I worked in the school district there, running the enrollment system. I came here, my wife is a lifelong educator. She's been teaching for almost 20 years now. And I have two boys who are attending SBTS schools at Wellstone and Highland Park in the Spanish Dual Immersion program. I am heavily invested in education, and specifically in St. Paul Public Schools. I've been a appointed board member for about 8 months in 2021, and so I had a lot of experience. I decided not to run as an incumbent after that. I waited for a year, and now I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I'm really gunning and hoping that we can together change the school district. I want to see youth and our children and our future generations succeed, but I want to redefine what success means, because right now I think we're defining success as success for a few and mediocrity for a lot, and for a growing number of kids, a lot of trouble ahead. And that's not the quality of life that we're looking for in St. Paul. That's something that I'm going to defend and fight for in my candidacy, and hopefully in the board. I really want to make sure that we can redefine what it means to graduate from St. Paul ready to succeed and ready to participate in community with all of us. So thank you for hosting this.
And then Erica, would you just please give us a brief?
All right, hey y'all, my name is Erica Valiant, and as you know, I'm running for school board. Woohoo! I've got 4 kids in the district right now, 2 at Hidden River Middle School and 2 at Maxfield Elementary. And then I also have a 21-year-old who graduated from Central High School in 2020 during the pandemic. So this graduation was a slash show, but we celebrate anyway. I am running for school board, number 1, because I have kids in the school system, and I want to make sure that, I'm doing my part to ensure that they're getting the best education they can possibly get, along with all my nieces and nephews and my neighbors and everybody else that they're growing up with, who are going to lead the district and grow up and make all the rules for us. when I'm no longer making rules. I really focused on making sure that we build financial literacy skills into the curriculum, making sure our kids can are graduating with the skills that they need to understand, like basic financial things that come up in life. So leases, loans, whether it's car loan, student loan, or, hopefully not, but a payday loan, right? And that they are just able to navigate the things that you're gonna have to navigate regardless of whether you go to college, trade school, decide to be an entrepreneur, whatever your path is. These are the skills that we should be making sure that you have when you graduate, right? Also making sure that we are starting the conversation very intentionally around critical thinking skills in the age of artificial intelligence and what that is gonna look like and how that's gonna change and how our definition of realities, different realities can change. I'm having kids who love VR and all these things that I didn't grow up with, and understanding that, ChatGPT and all these other artificial intelligence kind of tools are gonna become more prevalent. We need to really be on top of making sure that we understand what's really going on, how we prepare our kids, and how do we prepare ourselves to catch up, right? Because at this point, it's our job to make sure that we're on top of those types of things. And that's probably all right, y'all.
Just keep it right there.
Okay, so candidates, you guys have 2 minutes to answer a question, but you don't need to try and keep a count in your head. Our lovely timekeepers can assist you in keeping time, but also to the audience and to the candidates, we have a wheel to decide who will answer a question first. After they answer, it'll go to the right candidate. Like, if you started, you go to the right.
Okay, so our first question is, last year SPPS changed school schedules when only receiving 10% of student responses. How do you include students in decision making? And we're gonna spin the wheel.
They let me pick my sound, but that did not really sound like a flute. Okay. Although I did play clarinet, so okay. I don't think that right now, the way that we're currently organized as a district, that as St. Paul Public Schools, we get enough student voice and input on the things that directly affect you, right? I mean, that's basically what it is, right? Like, adults are continuously making decisions that impact you without your input. And so that for sure needs to change.
All right, so I think
That's fine.
I'll go. So I think that I think that there is y'all gonna get when I get to start as an evil laugh sound. So I'm real excited to hear that. But so I think that there's a couple of ways. I think as a district we rely too much on just survey responses in general as a form of community engagement, which I think is something that we need to put the charge to our community engagement section to really revise the way that we're influencing that engagement component. But I think it really starts on a school level. I think, and young people, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine, because I was also a young person once, that you have better relationship with the folks at your building, and there's an adult in the building that you probably trust in some way, shape, or form. And so what I think is that when decisions come up that are maybe controversial, we need to start having those conversations at the school where young people are showing up to, and then we push that decision making, or we put the output, we push up to the district what the feedback is on the site. And because I think there's a lot of times where the district will make a decision and say that they did community outreach and engagement and talk to young people, but then 10% fill out the survey, right? That's not effective. And so we start at the ground level at the school, we push it up to the folks that are gonna make the decision. And then I think longer term though, we model something like a Youth on Boards initiative to where we can actually get young people connected to maybe serve on our boards and commissions and our committees within the district infrastructure. And we gotta make it happen in a real way where young people can actually have a vote in that space. So there's a lot that we can do, and I think there's a lot of models in youth leadership across our city that we can learn from and implement, because that's what is needed.
So it's interesting, this is the question, because this is what we were talking about earlier. I really like, there was a student leader last year, or 2 years ago, Jerome Treadwell, and he organized the students in every building. He had 3 to 5 leaders in every single building that represented the building, and then when there was an issue that came up, those students would reach out to other students in the school and let them know that there would be a board member available for them to talk to. And then I would hop on the Zoom call, or it was Zoom call because it was pandemic stuff. But I would be available to actually listen to the students. I really like that structure. I know that we typically have had SEEB, which is the Student Engagement Advancement Board position. I always was a little critical of that because it was one person who was supposed to represent every student across the district. In addition to my experience with that is often that they would be co-opted by administration and they didn't really represent the students. And so I want to see like strong student leadership in the building, so strong student councils, strong affinity groups. I actually just met with the Highland Black Student Union today. I think that having that direct connection to young people who want to have their voices heard and having those leaders to encourage other people to come forward is the best way to get the majority of the youth's voice. And I have been on phone calls where it was 5, 7, all 7 high schools represented because the issue was citywide. And all of those young people were there kind of getting me together so that I could go get the district together. And I really like that model.
Yeah, so I think one of the key components of having a really strong student voice is going to have to be actually empowering schools to allow that to happen. And I think when we think about engagement in the district, the surveys, for example, that got passed out recently for the budget talk about feelings. They don't talk about numbers. They don't show you a spreadsheet with what they expect to happen. They're just telling you, how do you feel? And based on that, they're going to make budgetary decisions. I think, it's rather weak. It's a very weak way to lead a district. And so I think we need to actually be realistic and that we need to empower our school sites to be able to make budgetary decisions. And we need to be able to do it within, a framework. Now, how does that connect to student voices and engagement of students? Well, we need to develop the leadership teams at the schools that include student voices. So we actually need to be able to have strong leadership teams that are composed of educators, site leadership, staff, including staff who are doing, tasks such as, helping people get on and off the bus and security and, maintenance. We need to be able to have the whole community of the school come together, parents and students, and be organized. And in order to do that, we need to train. And where does it start? It starts here. We need to train ourselves when we get into the board on how to be transparent, how to organize ourselves to be better board members, and we need to encourage our administration to do the same and to do it in every single school. That's when we will be able to get those voices lifted up, and we'll be able to hear the true voice of the school and their needs. And for students, absolutely, we need to do a better job than just sending out a survey and saying 10% is enough. So, thank you.
I can go. So I am gonna echo some of what Chantel said, some of what Carlos said. I agree with both, but I'm gonna add that, for me, especially having young children, one really huge way to include student voice is for parents to talk to their kids, ask them how they feel about what's going on, find out what's going on in school, and for them to show up to be the voice of their students. And not only for younger kids, but for older kids too, because that's our role as a parent. For our older kids, in addition to, I think, of course, having leadership groups, but also understanding that, for example, in the example that we use, we got 10%, there was 10% responsibility, right? So then you have to understand, how many of our students actually even care to respond to it, because in all honesty, people have different, people, depending on what they're going through, right, just may not be worried about that thing right now. And so without having more information, it's hard for me to give a good answer based on those numbers, because I don't know what's behind it, that 10%, was that 10% of all the students, including kindergartners, who was this 10% include? So it's really about creating a culture in the schools where students feel empowered, feel like their voice matters when they say something. Number one, because if they feel like it doesn't matter, they're not going to speak up. So it's going to be like, what's the point, right? And that's what, I talk to my kids all the time, like, why don't you tell this person, why don't you tell that person? They're like, well, we do tell them, they don't care, right? So you have to make sure that you are paying attention to that dynamic first, in order to not just get student voice, but make it impactful.
Thank you. Thank you. I kind of look at it two ways. One, how we can use technology, multiple way. You survey, you email, text kids. My kids only respond to text, so I will text them, find out how we can text them. One, kind of use technology to reach, use the technology, like they use Snapchat, they use text, they're not going to respond to your email, right? We need to use the technology to reach out the kids, what their response better, modify the technology. Another part is empowering young. I always like to thank you, Urban Roots. A lot of non-profit group like Urban Roots, what they are doing, we need those. That keeps our adult, teenagers engaged, learning skills for lifetime. So we need that kind of organization more. That way kids are active, that trains them, they provide a life skill. Also, they have this ownership. What do we want to do? Who we can reach out? That kind of mentality develops. So I feel like we need to empower our teenagers, our school kids, especially high school kids, with athletic or whatever engagement. And then when you survey, reach out to parents same time, your survey rate increases. But I want to know how we can empower, children, teenagers, that way feel like, I need to do this survey. That matters to me. So we need to find out why the survey is not mattering for the young people. How we can survey and find out, so we can empower them better. Thank you.
Our second question is, what do you see as the first step needed to ensure that every student feels safe at their school?
For the wheel of fate.
We just recorded that laugh a little bit ago. No, I'm just kidding. But On a real note, this is a thing that comes up quite a bit. I was a restorative practices coordinator at Humboldt for 4 years, and one of the things that we really attempted to do was make sure that every single young person in our buildings had an adult and other young people that were part of their people that they could go to, that they knew that if something came up, that they could go and report it to without the fear that, you know, something bad was going to happen as a result of it. I think that is really investing in making sure that every adult and every young person and everybody that interacts with our school communities actually has that lens that it's like we are in this, we are in community together. When something fraction, when there's harm done or friction that happens in spaces, that we, whether the harm comes from the district, whether the harm comes from another young person, another adult person to a young person, there's so many ways that harm and feelings of unsafety can show up in our school communities, that like we have to own it, regardless of where it's from, and we have to co-create a plan on how we move forward. So I could come up here and say, this is the 5 steps that we're gonna have a safe school community, but if we don't actually define what safety means in partnership with our young people, then we as adult people making decisions on your behalf are failing at the job. And so we need to do this work together. We're gonna redefine safety. We have to redefine what safety looks like, feels like, what the expectation is, and then what happens when harm or friction or something needs to be repaired. And that has to be the restorative model that we as a district commit to, and we as a city also commit to, and as a county and as a state. Like, this is a big thing that we need to really invest our time and energy into co-creating.
He said that so eloquently. I used to just say restorative justice. I don't do all that. No, but seriously though, it is a combination, and since we have a Johnson student here, I will say that I'm constantly pointing to the work that's happening over there amongst the students and the student leadership. I think it requires, as Carla was saying, not just restorative justice, but it requires giving the students the autonomy to have their own voice and be leaders in their own spaces and define what safety is, and then start to create that for themselves. And that process, you know, it can happen through restorative justice, and I think restorative justice is exactly what's going to get us there, because as long as our mind stays in a punitive state, we can't listen and understand what is actually causing the unsafe situation. And so restorative justice, I'll just say that. Student leadership is important, making sure that they have space and voice in spaces and places, safe spaces where they can have a voice and really talk about what's happening in their lives. And in the classrooms, in the curriculum, I mean, safety it comes from a lot of different angles, but they have to have the voices to be able to say, this is what's bothering me, and this is what makes me feel unsafe. So.
I think safety is multifaceted. I think we talk about safety, and we can define it for ourselves in our own experience, and it's really hard to then extrapolate that and really impose it on somebody else. But what I do know is that we do have safety issues, and we need to address them. So I think I want to echo really what Carla and Chantel have already said, and I just want to say that there is an urgency behind it. It's not just going to be future work. I think it needs to be now work. It does need to start with systems that we already have in place that are working, such as the SSLs. I truly believe that we have staff that are ready and doing good work and can be trained to be even more effective and can be boosted to have even more numbers at our schools. So I think that's an investment that we absolutely as a community need to make to be able to make sure that safety starts with safe people, and safe people who are not punitive, but who are really looking out to make sure that students are being listened to, that frictions don't escalate. They actually are trained in de-escalation. So that's what I would think about initially. So thank you.
I will look at kind of safety like how for the person, family, what safety means, and talk that safety, how we can be safe and how we can keep others safe as a family, as a school kid. We need family and school kid have to have this communication about safety, how we can be safe, how we can keep others safe. Number one. Number two, as a societal level, as a parent, the coming day, I want parents to involve in the school building in safety area. That way, when the adults are there, kids can feel safe and they feel like and also have a mental health worker or place they can go and just kind of relieve or talk to someone. I think I like to partner with St. Paul Public Police to have some sort of a security, not necessarily police, security and parents. If something happened, they are there so they know they are safe, both emotionally, physically, and from home. That's how we can make them safe and they can feel, hey, my school is safe, I want to go without anxiety, without worrisome. Thank you.
Please repeat the question for me.
What do you see as the first step needed to take towards ensuring every student feels safe at school?
Okay. So I think the first step needed is to figure out, like, why don't you feel safe? What is it that's making you feel unsafe? In whatever way that is for you, right? If it's like physically I feel unsafe, if it's, I feel unsafe due to, my identity, or, I feel unsafe due to a disability, whatever it is, right? That's the first thing you have to identify. And then you need to identify, okay, what do we do to like remedy these things, right? And you have to also understand and really think about the context that, that we're talking about safety in, especially now with us seeing so many more behaviors from our kiddos after going through COVID, after, dealing with going through the after effects of the uprising, when George Floyd was murdered on TV, understanding that our children saw death around the corner every day for years and years and years, were locked in the house, couldn't go to school. They saw within our political system, on TV, adults acting not adult-like, and I'm pretty sure that all these things had an effect on both the kids, but also the adults too, right? So we really have to be very intentional about thinking about, number one, what are the root causes, what's going on, what's the context that this is happening in, if we're gonna actually do something about it. And also we have to understand that it's not gonna happen quickly. This is gonna be, when we talk about, for example, restorative practices, right? Or any other type of process of healing, right? And figuring out like what's going on beneath the surface, it takes time. And we have to be realistic with the expectations that, us changing policy is not gonna change culture immediately, right? That doesn't mean we don't have to do it, but be realistic. Thank you.
I just had this conversation with some of our young people, and this one I really struggle with, and not because I don't have the answers, and I don't think any of the adults have the answers. And I think that we have ideas about what we would like to see happen, what we want to see happen, but I think that there isn't a one thing that is going to change it, right? And so, in talking about like for first and foremost, like how we're talking about safety and what does that mean and who's defining what safe is. And talking with a group of our young people, it's like, a group of our young people of color who are saying, I am walking around in these spaces in our schools and I don't feel safe. And it may not be because of another student, it may be the adults, and that this isn't the most, it is a hard space for our young people to navigate when you don't feel like the people in the building have your best interest at heart and believe that you can and will be anything you want to be. Like, let's just say that, let's just state that, right? And so it is, I think that we probably have a very different idea of what safety means for our young people, and our young people, when we ask, will tell us exactly what that means to them and how they would like it to be different and better, and what we can and should be doing. And that is work that I am committed to continuing, and knowing that that's work for the foreseeable future. It is not, we're gonna have a meeting or 2 meetings or 3 meetings. Like, that is continuous work, and it will require all of us to be a part of it, not just within the school district, but within our community as well.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is, with the current school curriculum, do you believe students are being taught what they need to be successful? If not, explain. Okay, back to Arvina.
So it's supposed to be a swoosh. Like Nike. No, I don't. And that's exactly why I'm on the school board. Phrase the question specifically for me again, if you could reread it.
Do you believe students are taught what they need to be successful? If not, explain.
Yeah, no. So I believe, I think it's really important that every individual knows and understands their own culture. And not everybody's culture is being represented in the curriculum. And so we're getting closer and getting a little bit better at it, but I do believe that everybody's personal stories need to be told, because how do we find who we are in this world if we don't know where we came from? And the curriculum is hyper-focused on what white America has established as the American way, rather than looking at how indigenous folks have contributed to the society and could contribute to the society better if they weren't being pushed out. How the black folks have contributed to the society, how the Hmong community has contributed to this society, and other folks that have come here to this city and built this beautiful city. And so I don't think that it's there. I want to see more of it. I love what's happening in the Suitor program, which is the St. Thomas Urban Residency Teacher Program, where they take the teachers around town and talk about the history of our city so that they have a thorough understanding of our people and who we are. And when that happens, they appreciate our students for who they are and what they're bringing to the classroom. They're not trying to kick them out because they want to dance too much. They recognize that these students love dance because they grew up in Rondo days, right? They're not saying particular things about folks speaking their language because they understand that the Hmong community's language is powerful, and the way that they tell their stories are powerful. And they need to be able to have those conversations amongst each other so that they can have an understanding of what they need to know to pass the test on a deeper level, not on an English level, but on a Hmong language level, right? So that they can relate to who they are as a person. And so we need to be able to bring not just the current curriculum that the state is really pushing, but we also need to be able to bring the curriculum of our community into our schools.
I want to echo what Chantel said, and I also want to add one thing. How do we define success? Because if what we want to do is train you to, try to get into that percentage of people who are making it right, more and more I keep hearing about students who are coming out of college indebted, can't afford to buy a home, can't afford to raise a family. Is that what we want to prepare you to? I don't think so. I think I want to be able to connect and engage with our youth and our students to be able to define what it is that we want our students graduating towards. What kind of community do we want to co-create in St. Paul that is going to make quality of life better for everybody? And that doesn't happen with us staying pat and keeping the system running the same way it has, because the system was designed by people who believed in Reaganomics, by people who believe that, people in suits know better than us, and that's not true. We need to continue the work that has already been started, like Chantel said, suitor program. I just, an amazing experience. My wife trained the first Karen teacher, full-time teacher, not just an IA or an EA, but an SPPS teacher at the school. And she coached this person, and she's now a successful teacher. And I just want to say that experience of bringing people into community who are from an immigrant community, who are joining into society and are saying, hey, you have a place in St. Paul and you can create with us. I think we need to empower our community to be able to be a place where everybody feels like they have a chance. And that's what we want to do. And it's going to take a lot of work, but it's going to take listening.
I don't know how this is supposed to go. All right, are we preparing our students for success, the correct one? It depends on your idea of success, right? A lot of times students themselves won't know until after they're out of school and look back, and they can be like, oh, that was great for what I wanted to do. Or they'll be like, they didn't teach me anything useful, right? So it kind of depends. I'm gonna try not to beat up new math right now because I'm older, but I hear there's a new math curriculum coming, so yeah. But I didn't think it was setting students up for success to use a whole sheet of paper for one math problem. I thought that was ridiculous. So I thought it was ridiculous that I had to call a teacher to teach me how to do what I already knew how to do. Like, well, why does he have making all these boxes? What's going on? So yeah. And there's also a question of, right, are we just training our kids or are we teaching our kids, right? Is this education or is it just making millions? Like, what's our goal here, right? You have to understand that success, right, as defined by people who are in charge, that really might look completely different to, how everybody else defines success. Parents, students, even teachers, right? So, I guess that's the reason why it's really important that parents and student and teacher voice is included in, all the decision-making processes, but specifically for teachers to be able to teach the way they are good at teaching. I think that a lot of teachers are so brilliant and they just get stuck having to follow this thing so rigidly that they don't even get to share their gifts in a real way. And I love most teachers. I love teachers. I used to want to be a teacher. But yeah. Oh, of course, and include financial literacy because that's one of my things. I'm past it. Thank you.
I say no because school not preparing for kids skill building classes or advanced. I'm talking about the public school because they are lacking advanced classes. Who wants to advance math, science, all these things? Also, they lacked skill building classes. They need to have a more skill building classes. So people, maybe they don't want to go college, they can pick up and go within 1 year or something, do training and find a job, right? So our success is definition-wise need to be changed. Pay scale also need to be changed. Now, success means you go IT, MIT, Harvard, all these things. We need to pay our teachers, have opportunity for small farming, urban farming, so people can be a farmer and also successful. People can be, artists, also be successful, earning wage or societal values. That way, we really have to define what is a success by start to paying teachers, our artists, or like our farmers, helping farmers, urban farmers, kind of like like society. We really need to define as an Asian mom. We are very doctor, engineer, all these things, but nobody talks about farming. Nobody talks about carpentry. Nobody talks about plumbing. Everybody doesn't need to go college, but as a society, we really have to define what is success. Not getting high score in math. Maybe that's a success for someone, but not for others. Other success is maybe making really nice carpentry or something. Thank you.
Can we repeat the question?
Yeah, so
Thank you.
do you believe students are being taught what they need to be successful? If not, explain.
Yes and no. And I say that because I think that we're in St. Paul Public Schools, and I think districts across this state and the country, right? We have a model of education, right? And some of our young people do well in that model, and some of them don't. And for the ones that don't, we're not trying to be flexible and creative and innovative, trying to find other ways to engage them in their learning, right? And so I think about my own child and the experiences that he talks about. It's not about being in the classroom, he talks about experiences. And that's how I remember my education. And I don't know if our folks in here remember experiences that you had in school, but not necessarily like the test you took or the things you tried to cram into your brain to take a test, right? And so I think that we have lots of opportunities for experiences in St. Paul Public Schools, and not enough of our young people know what those are, right? And so talking with our trades folks in St. Paul Public Schools, right? We've got our pipe fitters, we have our carpenters, we have our steel workers and our plumbers, right? And they talk about this fact that there's a generation of, after they retire, there's a generation of young people who aren't going to be able to have these jobs, right? And so if our young people were finding out about those experiences while they're in school, I think that that's not just finding a job, that's a career. Insulators, they make $80,000 a year to start, right? And so that's more than a lot of our parents are making, right? And so I think that opportunity for our young people to engage in life outside of the district, outside of St. Paul Public Schools, again, experiences are really important.
Okay, so my quick answer is kind of like Director Ellis, and a yes and a no. I would say that first and foremost, I want to agree with Director Allen in the fact that we need to be really teaching culture and making sure that everybody that shows up in our community is represented in every single part of our curriculum, and we actually get to amplify and uplift that. I will also say that the folks that create the laws and the standards and the things that they say we need to learn are also folks that are a lot of folks that haven't been in a classroom, or young folks that may not have engaged in our schools. And so we do need to really look at what the standards are, and I think that there does need to be some level of an overhaul in what we are expecting our young people, or how we're preparing our young people for success or life after the potential 13 years plus that they're with us in the district. And so I'll highlight a couple of things, because I know Erica was going to highlight on this too, but financial empowerment and wealth justice. How can we prepare our young people to really build a financial future where they feel like they're being successful and they can actually afford to live in our community? I will also say college and career readiness. I think Director Ellis was talking about this a little bit, but for a whole generation, we only pushed that college was your only way of being successful, and that is inaccurate, because I know quite a few folks that went directly into the trades and are balling out now, making more than I did with a 4-year degree and 10 years of experience, right? And so that, but also so preparing for college and career readiness, making sure that folks have a future plan, and adulting. Let's talk about what taxes are and how to make it.
For our next question, we have, what specific programs are you interested in promoting?
And we got our trusty Leo. Okay. Oh, and I also want to mention that we have been removing names, so we're always starting to. Pizza.
Yeah. What specific programs are you interested in promoting?
My main goal to promote is advanced classes in summer. My kids had wanted advanced class, they didn't have. I had to pay $2,000. So I think the school needs to have advanced class and school building classes. That's what I really want to advocate. And third thing is the mental health, because kids have a mental health breakdown and they don't have trained staff. People talk a lot. People need on the spot mental health. That's I really want to advocate for. That also will help for the violence, anger management, all these things. That also is part of the safety. So my 3 things is advanced class in summer, anytime. People both in your advanced class and school class, both need to have more classes. They have some classes, and I know a lot of people complain about they cannot do art class or something. So my main thing is advanced classes all the time. People need to have math, science, whatever they want, biology, especially advanced class. And also more skill building classes and technology, more. Those things, mental health, and school safety. That's I really want to advocate for. That's my kind of like I have kids, and that's I really want to focus on. And I think that's very important if you look at the global aspect of the job and college going, competition. If you look at those kind of helps our school enrollment more too, so more people come. If you have advanced class, or otherwise parents who wants to have their kids to do more advanced class, they will go other places than Central Public School, and we have our enrollment is down, so we need to improve enrollment to have those class that will hopefully improve the enrollment. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't do that.
So I don't think that there is a program, right? I would like for our young people to have a holistic experience within St. Paul Public Schools, right? And that, again, looks like a lot of different things because we have 33,000 students, right? And so there needs to be individual plans for each one of our young people learning in the school district. And so I love that we have immersion schools. I love that we opened up the East African Elementary School. I love that, we're talking now about, a freedom school, year-round freedom school, right? Like, that's a summer program that we're talking about, how do we build, right? There's a lot here, and I feel like there's more that could be here, but I don't want to say, like, we need to add on so much more. I'm saying, like, we need to build what we have, and that needs to be, making sure that our students have, again, opportunity for experiences, but like that, we're doing an audit to check, to make sure that, like, we're having an that our students have an art experience, a music experience. I believe that it is really important that we're not just talking about ethnic studies when you get to be a sophomore in high school, right? That is within your entire experience in St. Paul Public Schools, that you get to connect to you, right? And so it's not a program, it is a holistic experience that I believe our young people need to have in St. Paul Public Schools.
Totally agree. It's not just one program. It is a holistic approach. So echo exactly that. I think a full investment in a restorative justice, professional development program to make sure that everybody is on board and we can commit to that community building opportunity and commitment as a culture, I think is a huge investment we need to make. I will also just uplift something that I wanted to say in the last thing, but ran out of time, is the fact that like we also just don't celebrate our young people's success enough. And I think like looking at like Humboldt, my youngest sister graduated from Simley High School in Ember Grove, but the year that she graduated, there was 3 young people in her class that graduated with an associate's degree at the same time as their high school diploma. But what I know that same year while working at Humboldt is that a dozen young people graduated with their associate's degree at the same time as their high school diploma. And you know, like I would have just do like the biggest party, right? Like it's like, dang, this is a huge accomplishment that we're not uplifting enough. And we could say so much more about that. I do have another minute, so I appreciate that update. So uplifting that, the college and career pathway I've said, but the other thing is to just make sure that our programs actually have access to our public infrastructure. I think there's so often that we have these nonprofits and community that are grinding and actually paying money to offer programming out of their own pockets on the table, but yet our school buildings are empty in the evening and a lot of times, or there's, you know, other programs going on in the building, but there's a gym that could be programmed by community that we're just not allowing to tap into until we, you know, throw down a wad of cash on the table. And I think that is a disservice to community that we need to see invested in more.
Cool. So I think the WIN teachers, and I never can remember what the acronym, What I Need Now, they are in every single building to increase literacy and to close the learning gap. I really like that program. I hope that it's something that we can continue even after our ESSER funds are gone, because we started before the pandemic with a literacy deficit. And so this is something that we've seen huge strides in our elementaries with students, you know, getting on track for reading, and I hope that we can continue that. Trades, I think that the trades being in the school is something that I'd really like to highlight. Also the associates, as Carlo said, there was some students that I had over at Como that were graduating with associate's degrees. And I often tell young people, like, if you have an advanced thought process, you know, AP is good and IP is great if you want to go to an Ivy League school. But if you want to get some free tuition, go enroll at St. Paul College or at Concordia and get those free classes. So that's huge. Another program I'd love to uplift is Freedom School. I feel like it's a very successful program, summer program, Afrocentric centered curriculum. Students are engaged and they love it. It's one of the things that, you know, even as adults, they look back on their education career and they say that Freedom School was something that really pushed them forward. So I want to uplift that. We also approved a new esports program in St. Paul Public Schools, which I think is super dope, and especially because I was just on a college tour with 30 girls. We went down south to historically black college and universities, and Morris Brown has an unbelievable esports lab that they just developed, because this is a huge industry. And it's not just about video games, it's about building video games, it's about competing with video games, it's marketing. They had a green screen. The lady that was there presenting was a student. She was saying how she already had a contract with Nautica and was able to use some of the equipment to fulfill her contract, and a lot of great things coming out of esports. And this is something that for a lot of years we have looked down on our children because they had the ability to play video games and understand video games. And I'm so excited that St. Paul's Public Schools is ready to uplift that skill.
Thank you. I think in following with, you know, what you've been hearing about, you know, programs that we want to support, I really want to make sure that students have the opportunity to engage in leadership and school government early on, but not just in a classroom setting with a teacher, but actually participating in school leadership team meetings. And it doesn't have to start full blown, but if at least starting from the 5th grade up, they can get engaged and really start getting a taste of what it means to represent their classmates and their friends at a higher level and be able to speak for other people. I think that's huge. It's going to help us, I think, be able to be better engagers, better community minded district if we're actually preaching and doing what we preach. Trades, I think we need to have trade electives again in middle school. Over the years, we've eliminated these programs. We need to reinsert them back, and we need to actually recruit. I'm sure tons of people in the city would love to have a pool of workers that they can access, and they need to start encouraging this. There's a deficit across the state in the trades. People up north are paying top dollar for a carpenter, for somebody who can do installation like we mentioned here, and even within St. Paul. It's across the state. It's something that we need to look at and we need to advocate for, not just here in St. Paul, but across the state, and we can be, you know, part of that coalition. And then I just want to encourage and continue to look for unique programming. It's the reason why we came to St. Paul. It was the immersion school that brought us to the city to move here specifically. And now, you know, we have a student in International Baccalaureate, and he is loving it. It's hard, it's challenging, but he is engaged in school. And so I want to continue to push for that unique type of programming that brings people over. Thank you.
All right, programs. I don't know, there's a lot. I mean, everything they said sounds awesome, right? We kind of like separate programming from curriculum. So I'll throw out some our wishes that might exist that I don't know about. But I would love for there to be like definitely trades in the school. I went to a technical high school when I was growing up, and I kind of did some drafting, and I did some also did like business and accounting tracks. So that was like pretty cool to be able to like experience those different areas in high school, and also in middle school. I had a wood shop, right? So yeah, and also there are a lot of like trades, like certificates that high schoolers can actually get. Like they're smart enough and safe enough at that age to do, for example, something I did, learn how to solder on electronic assemblies, right? Pretty much soldering on circuit boards, right? Things like that they can get like a nice summer job with, and also, you know, use that skill elsewhere. I would love for there to be a focus on attracting young people to the field of teaching, and also like talking with current teachers and parents and youth about, you know, what that looks like and how it might be different from what they expect, you know, from what it was historically. So just being realistic about that and preparing them for the realities of teaching. Of course, financial literacy programming is going to be like one of my number ones because, you know, not only is it important for our students, but you know that there's so many programs out here right now that are offering financial literacy skills for adults, you know, because a lot of us just don't really have them. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. We didn't learn about credit because nobody had credit cards. So I think we will be doing our kids a great service to like give them those skills on the front end. What else program? Oh, sports. There is sports programming, but I'm just gonna, oh man. Okay, more sports.
Okay, our last question for tonight for the panel. We still got some rapid fire, so don't worry. But our last question for the panel is, how do you keep parents informed on school district policies? Okay. So since this is our last question, we have either Erica or Yusuf to answer. So it's just gonna be a 50.
I woke up with that. So really, how to keep parents informed? I want to maybe say add engaged, but I think informed may limit the definition of what the school board is needing to do with policy decisions. I want to expand it. I want to say co-govern, and I really say it in a way that is going to make sense for the city, because we sometimes think of and I want to say specifically, there are people who think that, oh, if we give parents voice, it's just going to be chaos. It's going to be everybody, is going to want something different, and we can't give them what they want. There is some truth to that, but the thing is, we're right now operating under fear that if we give voice to parents, I don't know who the we is, but people are going to lose power and control. And that's ultimately what's happening here, is there's a struggle for power. The old system gave power to superintendents and their executive team. We need to change that. And we're going to change that. And I truly believe that we can do that by training ourselves as a board and building a coalition of organizations, strong school leadership teams who are vocal and are able to speak freely, are not afraid of retaliation, to be able to just, say the truth, and for us to be able to listen. And that engagement process is going to involve time and location changes for us to be able to say, hey, we're going to bring the board to you. That may not necessarily mean board meetings everywhere. It could be, but we need to investigate it. And we need to be actually very diligent in working at bringing board decision-making, board information to the parents, not just have, meetings and minutes held at this, this place at Colborne, which, is great, and it's a great facility, but it doesn't connect with community.
All right, can you repeat the question for me?
Yes. How do we keep parents informed on school district policies?
Well, keeping parents informed on policies. There are so many ways to do that, and we need all those ways because parents are busy, typically, and their capacities change, and sometimes they just barely have capacity to get through the day, feed their kids, and keep one eye open, to cook dinner before they fall out after work, right? So my experience as a parent is that please do email me, text me, call me, do it 2 or 3 times, because I am doing lots of things, and yes, I want to be involved, but if you don't remind me, I just might forget, because I'm doing all kinds of other things that are relevant to things that are more urgent in my life right now, right? I think that a lot of times, I have this conversation so many times, that organizations, whether it's a school or some other organization, they really, really want parent voice, they want parents to show up, and they try their best to get them in there. They do events, and then they don't get the engagement that they want. And my thing to them is you know what, you have to understand the parents' capacities change. They may not be able to show up. They may be tired. They may have a sick baby. They may have 5 babies and not have a car, and it's cold outside, right? Yes, you're providing food and daycare, but that's still a lot of work, right? So, understanding that not getting the numbers that you want does not equate to people not caring, right? But then also on the flip side, understanding that when they are sending out opportunities for parents to engage, and then you kind of don't because you couldn't, then, don't say that we didn't try, because we did, right? But it's not that it's not that, we know that you care and that your capacity didn't allow for it. But, you know, that's just something you have to really, I'm sorry, I think my time is up. But pay attention to, you know, that there's two sides, more than one side to like that whole equation.
I kind of look at like a school board as a whole, have a plan, how to reach out to parents to be successful and hear the message. Number two, personally, I will have reach out, your website, you know, email. People can email me, look at my website and reach out to me, and I wanna, you know, put my blog or something. I feel like having this communication with parents, different as a whole school board system, something, and personal level, both how they can reach out different way. You know, if we want to engage parents, maybe do in-person one, or another is more like a remote, you know, kind of option. And when you do in-person, maybe provide meal for the parents, they can sign up, so they can come with kids and, you know, have a meal and they don't have to worry. Just so you use multiple ways to reach out to them and engage them. Thank you.
Okay, so if we're talking about policy specific, right? At the end of a legislative session, right, we're getting information that says laws have changed, you as a district need to update this policy, right? And whether or not community and families know about that is usually those things go through a 3-reading process within the school district, right? And then you've got our folks who work within the district who are part of that. You've got our board members who are a part of that. And what I believed would happen when I ran for re-election in 2019 was that we were going to be creating some processes that open that up to community as well. And then, you know, March and 2020 and all that happened, right? And so it would be great when we're talking about these things that impact us on the state level, how we're having to change policy. And I mean, there are a lot of them, and some of them it's like, I don't know how that's actually gonna affect my child and education. So the conversations we need to be having in community around those are really important. When we're talking about policies that come from our community itself, then those should be led by community and not just because the board thought we should do this or heard about this policy. Like, it has to be for the benefit of our young people, and they as well as community need to be a part of that. So like policy specific, there's a range of that where it's, you know, there's some state level things that we have to do per statute, and then there's how and what we want to do as a district and where community gets to and should be weighing in on that. And I just would like to add, we've learned that there are multiple ways that we can connect and engage with our families, and we still pick like the easy way instead of the harder, more complicated building and taking time to do it.
Appreciate you bringing up about the legislature, because I'll just reiterate, right? A lot of times the folks that are making those decisions about how we're changing policy, yes, sometimes, I mean, a lot of times who they bring to actually testify for the policy changes is the superintendent and or, you know, folks that aren't necessarily every day in the classroom. And so I think finding a way to organize, I mean, and I would say for me as somebody who's organized community around a lot of issues, I think we really need to try to get our families engaged in that advocacy at a state level to make sure that the policies that we're investing in attempting to change actually see through. And I think we have a lot of strong partners with the St. Paul delegation of the legislature that will listen and attempt to push some of that agenda. I will also say for the young folks in here, who's ever heard of the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook? Oh, maybe a few, okay. the young folks engaged. So rights and responsibilities handbook, I would just say that's also basically like the policies, procedures that the district utilizes. That's the discipline policy is in there. It's like how you're gonna show up to school and how we're gonna discipline you if you don't act right? Like that's essentially what this book says. I will also say that the folks that designed this handbook is like district level administration. I think a good way to start to include parent voice in our school, in our policies that we invest in as a district would be to actually invite young people and families to be a part of that revision, because that gets reviewed and approved by the board every year. And so I think we have to encourage the district administration to put more emphasis on actually engaging families to be a part of these processes. And I would just say my favorite way of engaging with families is by cleaning up garbage around the parks and coaching and just being out and having those conversations, and then let them drive the agenda, because that's when you have the real conversations.
So this is really hard to do in this district because we speak 144 different languages. So I'll agree, we do have to do all different types of methods. We need to text, we need to email, we need to make phone calls. But one of the most effective things that I've seen out of our district is when the superintendent just goes live on a platform and invites a lot of folks in. That's effective because there's the opportunity for interpreters in that space and folks can understand what's happening. And that's where we get most of our engagement, honestly. I believe that needs to take another step to SPNN TV station, and we need to do maybe twice a year, like a policy update. It can come from the board, it can come from the district, but SPNN allows for folks who speak other languages that we're not, because typically we only provide 5, 6 different interpreters. But people have ways of watching TV. They know how to, they've got their TV set up and geared up so that their language comes through so they can understand what's happening. And so maybe we need to do a stronger partnership with SPNN, ask for superintendent to do an update once a year, maybe an update from the board once a year. And then in addition to the texting, emails, phone calls, conversations in classrooms with students, so that the students are actually going home and saying, hey, this happened at school today and this is the new thing. And a lot of times the parents will go, wait, what? Now they might not get the right answer, the right story, they'll get a sideways, but they want to know what's going on. And so then they circle back with administration or with the teacher to find out what is this new policy change. And so really working in all of those different ways I think could be effective. All right.
Okay. Well, that kind of wraps up our prepared questions. Now we have 3 rapid fire questions just to answer in one sentence. They're kind of fun. We can just start. We can just start from Yusuf and then just go this way. So our first rapid fire question is describe 16-year-old self in one sentence.
Awkward. Sad. And hopeful. Yeah.
I'll go. See, I mean, I was athletic, I played sports, and I was active. I mean, when I was 16 years old, that was the year of the Rodney King beatings. And I remember organizing in the school to do a 10 o'clock walkout. And because I'm a little ambitious, everybody had to throw their books off the desk and make a loud noise. And then we all walked out. So I was active. I was an athlete. I was very boisterous, I'll say. I guess that explains it all.
It's definitely a sentence. I heard it. So I was involved, overcommitted, and committed to what I believe were the right things to get me to where I want to be, where I'm at right now, quite honestly. That's my sentence.
Cheerleader, ditching school, that rivalry with Central was very, very real. And and going to summer school because I was ditching.
What was the question?
Describe 16-year-old self in one sentence.
Oh, I was very studious. I loved helping my girlfriends, classmates, doing math. I love math, and I love helping them solve doing math homework. Another thing I love is helping my dad picking mangoes. And in Nepal, we have a lot of mangoes in summer, and I look forward for my summer break and pick mango. And eat as much as I can. Thank you.
This is hard. I'm trying to make this fun, but it's not really that fun. Okay. When I was 16, I was grieving. My mom had passed the year before, horribly from HIV/AIDS. We lived in a house with no windows, just boards. Afterward, I lived between people. I went to school, but didn't go to school at the same time. Didn't have money, and I was trying not to just fall to pieces. But I made it, so hey.
It's all right. Okay, this question is kind of a two-parter. What was your favorite class in high school, or what was your favorite thing about high school?
So my favorite class was art and chemistry and biology, because I'm a science art person. Yeah.
I was a math person and biology person, and I loved doing volleyball. I played volleyball for my high school.
Oh man. My favorite class was English. I had Miss Richardson, and she introduced me to all of these amazing books. She changed my life. And I mean, I was hanging out after school, spray painting the pyramid outside of Highland. that was my favorite.
I would agree. My favorite class was English. I've always liked to write, and I hated tests, so it was like I could always. And this is how I got through college. I got to do the really good on the writing, and then I always bombed the test. But and then I wasn't. It wasn't great. But I made it. Second part, I was involved in like all the things. So like created the yearbook, created the newspaper, was on the sports teams, started at 16. Like I was involved in all the things, the student council, planning the proms, planning the homecomings, like because school community really meant a lot to me.
My favorite class was African American Studies, so much so that I took the same class again in 11th grade, just because I only got a B. So I was like, might as well take it again and get an A. Why not? African American Studies, and then playing basketball, definitely.
Spanish literature. This is a high school in Spain in Spanish, so Spanish literature and chemistry, of all things. And then my favorite pastime was probably just pick up soccer matches with my friends.
Okay, so that concludes our panel for tonight, but I just want to say thank you to the youth committee members. Again, we're wearing little flowers on our shirt for making this happen, okay? And also a big thanks to Jocelyn and Natalie for being our adult coordinators. also helping you. Natalie in the purple and Dawson in the black straw. And thank you for SPNN Youth Reporting Forum for like helping record and live stream this event. And also get ready to vote on November 7th. If you are 18, if you are 16, you can like pre-register to vote. So when you're 18, you can just get ready to vote. You don't have to do anything. And you can do that at the Minnesota Youth Collective Board over there. Yeah, and I'm gonna pass it on to Bennett for like socializing.
Yeah. If we didn't make it to your rapid fire question, you guys can still ask it because the candidates are gonna come down. You can still hit them up if you wanna ask anything. Don't forget to finish up your bingo cards over there. Get a prize, get some food, and that's pretty much it for the panel. Don't forget to meet and coordinate with them. Yeah, that's it. Thank you all.